Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Locks of the Day podcast. This is episode number 19, and I'm here once again with Zach and Andrew. Got to bring you the locks. It's a new week. It's a new Thursday. You know what we're here for. We lock you in with every sport, and that's what we're here to do. So we're back. This season for NFL, we are now up 95.7 units total NFL season, which is absurd. Obviously, like I said last video, if you have $100 unit plays, that's $9,500 profit. That's insanity. Last week for the podcast, we went 2-2 on NFL Sunday with an even slate. So we didn't go up any units or down for our NFL Sunday podcast. But you might wonder, how can you go up a few units on the week when you went even on Sunday? That's because we factor in all of our NFL picks. So that's why you have to follow us on Instagram or Threads or Twitter at LocksOTD for everything. We got props that we don't even put on here because it's not like we have all of our picks for Sunday by today, Thursday. It's just not realistic. But we give you all of our favorite picks that we do find Wednesday night or Thursday morning and provide for you today, Thursday, once again. But anyways, so today we're going to lock you in with NBA picks, NHL, and college football premium locks. Big college football weekend, as you know. Then, of course, we'll get into the Thursday night football game with the Broncos versus the Chargers before we roll into the NFL Sunday locks, as always. So let's go over our recap from last week where we went 2-2. Andy, kick it off.
My three-star last week was Eagles and Bengals, both money lines. That cashed. Bengals won by 10, and Eagles won by 2 touchdowns. That was a nice, easy dub, nice plus 100. We smacked right there with 3 units. So, Zach, what'd you have?
For one of our 2 stars, we had Saints plus 8.5, and we cashed that. Saints almost won that game outright, by the way. Derek Carr, who needs him? Alvin Kamara, apparently, who needs him? So I'll take Keandre Miller any day. So we got those two. And Angelo, you picks.
Yes, sir. So for the 3-star, the Colts money line plus 170. They lost to the Broncos 31-13, which didn't help is they actually looked pretty solid for most of the game. They were leading. They were up 13-7, and then Jonathan Taylor ran it into the end zone to go up 20-7, but actually dropped the ball about a split second before going in the end zone, and then the game just completely changed. They never got a point after that and just gave up who knows how many. So, I mean, L right there for the plus 170 on the 3-star for the Colts. Then also gave you a 2-star risky play with the Browns money line plus 180, and they lost to the Chiefs. Didn't really have much of hope there once that game started. They didn't really look great. Winston, we knew would throw a couple picks, as we said. He threw 3. Said he'd probably throw a couple touchdowns with it as well, and threw 0. So that didn't help. So yeah, those are the 2 L's, the 3-star and the 2-star, Colts money line, Browns money line. But we're coming back and rolling hot this week, so keep your eyes peeled. So now we'll roll into the NHL Premium Locks for the day. And Andrew, you got the 3-star, so give it to him.
Yeah, 3-star for today will be Vancouver Canucks and Vegas Golden Knights. We're gonna go over in that game. It's set pretty low at 5.5. That's why I love this line. Is too low for two potential playoff teams here. Both Knights and Canucks both average over 3 goals a game, and Golden Knights are a team that they love to shoot. So being in Knights are a top 10 team with 30.3 shots per game, and they have some snipers. They got some snipers in that deep lineup. Third liner, Tomas Hertl, pretty sure I'm saying his name right. He's been lethal on the power play, leading the Knights with 7 power play goals. And I'm pretty sure he only has 9 goals on the season, so he's getting all of his production from the power play. Canucks, they don't get as many shots as the Knights do. They're only getting around 26, but they give up a lot, and that's where I see the Vegas scoring a good amount here. But unlike most other teams, Canucks have solid depth that produces goals and points. Third liners, Kiefer Sherwood and Piers Suter, I'm pretty sure that's his name. They're both tied for most goals on the team, and those are both third liners. They got 11 goals apiece, and that's behind newly acquired Jake DeBrusk with 14. He's been lighting it up for the Canucks. So, and this is also the first meeting between these two teams, and they got to play each other 3 more times after that. So I like this first game being heavy goals, And then if you look at when they play later in the season, it's in the last month of the season for hockey, which is April. I like those games going under, so I like the first couple games of the season in this matchup going over. So take the 5.5 here. It's a minus 135. Be at minus 135. Lock it in Knucks and Knights.
Lock that in over 5.5. Kiefer Sherwood, little sleeper hat trick the other day.
Yeah, he's been going
Out of
crazy.
nowhere. Out of
Yeah.
nowhere. But anyway, so gonna go with the 2-star here. Keep it simple. Going with the LA Kings money line, minus 145 versus the Flyers. 18-9-4 Kings versus the 14-14-4 Flyers. Flyers just played last night in a game that obviously took a toll on them as they lost to the Red Wings in Detroit 6-4. Just heavy game there. Now they take a quick trip home and play against a tough Kings team that also plays physical and is very good defensively. So it's just going to be a tough matchup for them. The Kings are second in the league, only giving up 2.52 goals per game, which is very low. Meanwhile, the Flyers are giving up 3.35 goals per game. Obviously, not that great. I think that's bottom 7 in the league. And then you just can't sleep on guys like Adrian Kempe for the Kings, who has 7 points in the last 5 games. They're one of the most underappreciated players or two-way players in the game, Anze Kopitar, who just does it year after year. And I mean, the Kings are also coming off an OT loss, which I believe they bounced back from strong. So we're just going to keep it simple. Kings money line, minus 145, 2-star, lock it in. Then we'll transition over to NBA to Zach with the picks.
So we are going with Knicks money line at a plus 120 for our 3-star tonight. This is a matchup between
Can I jump in real quick?
yes.
All right. So yesterday, NBA picks were posted. That was me. I had no clue that NBA wasn't yesterday. So yesterday, the 3-star was going to be Magic. That's not happening because um I thought they were playing a back-to-back. So we were going to take the Magic instead. But I'm not sure if you're going to be taking them today. I'm just wanted to point that one out there. And Knicks were the 2-star. So if people do get confused, especially our premium guys, Knicks are going to be the 3-star today. But Zach, all you.
Yeah, no, we had to sort that out because we thought the same thing yesterday because we were doing props yesterday too. And you were like, oh, there's no NBA today. And I was like, huh? Well, what do you mean there's no NBA?
Yeah.
So we got that straightened out. So we had to redo some of our picks. But as we get back into it, we have two teams here, the Knicks and Timberwolves, that made probably one of the biggest trades in the offseason. And that was sending Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. And I mean, the Knicks have improved immensely from the trade with the T-Wolves, and the T-Wolves are still kind of working out the kinks a little bit. You know, Minnesota is still a top 3 defensive team in the NBA, but they are lacking in offense. They rank 21st. Meanwhile, the Knicks are a top 3 offensive team, and they're also a top 10 defensive team, and a lot of that has to do with adding Karl Anthony Towns to the mix. And I mean, since Karl Anthony Towns has arrived in New York, he's averaging 25 and 14, and he's arguably been one of the best players in the NBA this season, if not the best player in the Eastern Conference almost all year long. And pairing him alongside Brunson and Bridges has improved the Knicks' scoring and also has improved their team chemistry a lot this year. And I think when you look at this matchup in his return coming to Minnesota, the Knicks being an underdog in this game with how hot they are and how they're playing, I think is just kind of a crazy line. And I think you get good value here. And you have a Minnesota team that's still trying to work things out. And I think with that being said, I think the Knicks at a plus 120 or plus 120 is good value here. And the Knicks, I think overall going to be are the better team right now in this matchup. So we got Knicks money line at a plus 120 for the 3-star.
Love it. And do you have a 2-star as well or not?
Yes, and we're going to get into
Lock it.
that. The 2-star is going to be Celtics minus 14 at a minus 115. And the Celtics and the Bulls square off for the second time this season. The Celtics are coming off a 9-point win in Chicago earlier this year. And the Bulls are a good offensive team. They're currently top 12 in offense, but they are one of the NBA's worst defensive teams. And they come ranked at 27th in the NBA in defense. And the Celtics are second in offense and eighth in defense. I don't expect this game to be as close as it was the first time around. You're giving the Celtics home court advantage, and I feel like the Bulls putting up 130 on one of the best defensive teams in the NBA is hard to do a second time. And the Bulls are solid from the 3-point line this year. They're one of the teams that shoots the three ball the most, but the Celtics are also one of the best defensive teams when it comes to guarding the three. And I think also too, one thing to look at is that the Celtics are in the top five in defense at home this season. So, and could be a question mark. We don't know if Zach LaVine's going to play. We had the Bulls the other night as a three-star, and Zach LaVine got ruled out an hour before the game with back spasms. And then it came out that he was they're looking at being traded to either Orlando or a few other places. So that's going to be their best player. He might not even step into the lineup tonight, but I think the Celtics are going to do their job, probably run away with this one late. So we got Celtics minus 14, minus 115 as our two-star.
Lock it in. That's your NBA plays for today, and of course NHL. Now we'll get rolling into the good old college football. We've got a big weekend for college football, so boys, lock them in.
Yeah, three star. This game's gonna be on Friday. Is Indiana versus Notre Dame. We're going over 52. It's minus 110. Love the over here. Both these offenses are very high scoring and very efficient getting down the field. Uh, Look at Indiana stats this year. They average just over 43 points a game. In passing, they do 265 yards to the air and average 9.7 yards per pass. Their QB, Curtis Rourke, he's a true pocket passer. So you won't see him take off and run. He'd rather get sacked. Like literally, like he's got negative rushing yards this year. He's got sacked for like a negative 140 something yards. He's not the guy who's going to go take off and run. But he's smart. He's smart with the ball. He's smart and he's very accurate. Rourke has thrown 27 TDs this year, has only had four interceptions, with a completion percentage of 70. So very good. Indiana, they run a very effective spread offense and they expose defenses through the play action. They have two solid running backs back there. Both of them, I think they average for one averages for 7.5 yards a carry. Other one's right around like six. So they do get good production back there. So they're averaging like 173 a game with like 4.5 yards per carry. So they're going off. Um, the offense is going to be tough to stop. And then if you look at Notre Dame stats this year, they're averaging right around 40 points a game, 196 yards through the air with 70 or 7.2 yards per pass. But unlike Indiana's QB, Notre Dame's Riley Leonard, he's not afraid to rush. Uh, if he needs to, he's going to put his head down. He's going to go get 5 yards real quick. He's got 16 TDs through the air with only five interceptions, but he has 14 rushing touchdowns. Like he's just built different. And that's all credited to the O-line. Notre Dame's O-line is a wall. And it's not surprised though, because that's kind of what Notre Dame does. They breed offensive linemen there. You get just Joe Alt, Quentin Nelson, Zach Martin, just to name a few. And those guys are all studs, probably going to be Hall of Famers one day. But having a great O-line makes the run game super simple. Yeah, both their running backs there too are averaging over 7 yards per carry, and then their QB is averaging 5.8 yards a carry. So I think it's going to be tough for both these defenses. I don't think either of these defenses have seen offenses this good. So I think the over is a fucking absolute lock here. And they did say there could be some weather, but if you look on one app, it ain't snowing there. Look on another app, it's snowing. So it's like it's all over the place for Friday night. It's going to be a cold game in South Bend. So we'll see what happens. But over lock 52.
Our two-star, we have Tennessee plus 7.5 against Ohio State for our Saturday night game coming up this weekend. And Tennessee's played a tough schedule this year with the SEC, and they've definitely played the tougher strength schedule compared to the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten. And their defense has improved week by week. They have one of the best running backs in college football, and Dylan Sampson. He's got 1,500 rushing yards this year. He's got a lot of carries, but he has averaged almost 6 yards a carry, which is still very impressive. And he's got a big old line up front. And the quarterback, the freshman quarterback who was looked at earlier in the season for the Heisman, Nico Iamaleava. I probably butchered that, but that's not an easy name to pronounce. But he's been great all year. He's doesn't turn the ball over. He's also a guy that's not afraid to scramble in the pocket to make plays. And Tennessee's been really impressed with how he's been all year. Um, On the Ohio State side of things, they're coming off a tough loss against Michigan, and Ryan Day's ass is on the line in this game. 'Cause I'll tell you what, if they get knocked out first round, he's getting canned. You can toss him out of here. But Ohio State is also going to have a tough matchup up front with Tennessee's defense because Tennessee ranks in the top 15 in sacks, and Ohio State has a reshuffled O-line. They have a couple injuries from earlier in this season that are going to hopefully not come back to bite them in this game, but it's going to be tough. They're going up against an SEC school that is one of the best out there. And yes, Tennessee does not have the experience. They have a lot of freshmen on this team, and that's where Ohio State is going to have to really lock in and use their experience to their advantage in this game. But ultimately, I just think this is too many points. I think this Ohio State team should be favored by maybe 2 or 3 points because you're at home, you're in a tough environment, it's a playoff game, but you're giving an SEC school like Tennessee, who's played the top teams all year, 7.5 points. They've played in tougher environments, they've played in better teams. This game is just going to be like another conference game for them, and I think they're going to keep this one close throughout the entire game.
Beautiful. So there's your good old big weekend of college football. And now we're going to roll into tonight's game with the Broncos versus the Chargers. So, Angie, you want to give them the teaser before I lock them in with the prop?
Oh yeah. Yep. Teaser for Thursday night's game will be Chargers plus 3.5. So we're gonna buy a couple points there, and then under 51.5, buy a couple points there. That comes out to a minus 135 on Fanatics. Great sports book. You can move the lines like crazy there and get good odds. But I like the Chargers here at plus 3.5. Little bounce back game from last week. For having a top defense in the league, they kind of got waxed last week against the Bucks. They got like a 40 piece on them. Uh, so I don't see that happening here with the Broncos. Uh, they looked horrible last week, even though they won. Lucky win with Bo Nix throwing 3 picks. It should not have happened. Colts should have won that game. Jonathan Taylor really screwed us there. But Chargers and Broncos have already played earlier in the year. Chargers won 23-16 and the over of 37.5 cash by a couple points. So I like the under here. Over already hit first game, but obviously we're buying the points. Both these defenses are first in the league with least amount of points given up with 17.6. I don't see any of these teams scoring over 17 points. Maybe one team tonight scoring over 17 points, but I love a low scoring game. It's the divisional game, obviously. So lock that in Chargers plus 3.5 and under 51, minus 135.
Love it. And then we'll swing you right into the two-star prop. We got on the Chargers, Stone Smart, anytime TD, plus 370. Duel. You're probably like, who the fuck is this Stone Smart guy? Don't worry, all right? Typically, I don't love going with anytime TD props on a low over-under game. I'm just not a fan on that, but I like this little sleeper pick. Ever since Will Dissly, the Chargers starting tight end, got hurt, Stone Smart has taken over. And I mean, he has 8 receptions for 104 yards in his 2 starts with 9 targets. Last game, he was tied with the team leading 5 receptions. And he was 3rd most targeted on the team behind Quentin Johnston and only a single target behind Ladd McConkey, which is pretty interesting. And McConkey's obviously had a very good rookie season for like, I don't know, just rookie wide receiver standards. He's one of the better ones. Obviously, you got Brian Thomas, Neighbors, all that stuff, but he's still producing well with Herbert, and people were wondering who's going to be their one in for the Chargers. He's obviously that guy. But then you got a guy like Stone Smart coming in who nobody knows, and he's producing as well. So interesting here. Mind you, the Broncos, of course, have a cornerback named Patrick Surtain, who is probably the best in the league, and he will shut down whoever he pleases between Quentin and McConkey with ease. That's just a fact. He's better than both of them. Quentin's solid, not great. Ladd's, shows some promising whatever. Surtain is one of the best. That's a big difference. He will shut them down, which obviously opens up more targets for Stone Smart. That's just a fact. Mind you, he played 67% of snaps last week, which is only a few less than their wide receiver 2, Quentin Johnston. So his opportunities will be present. And I just simply believe he gets in when it matters and cashes for 6. So you can lock in a little 2-star, Stone Smart, plus 370 for an anytime TD. Now we'll roll into NFL Sunday, give you our locks. And Andrew, I know you got the first 3 stars, so kick them off.
Yep. First 3-star will be it's a little parlay again, like last week. We're gonna stick with the Ravens money line, but we're gonna add in Bengals -2. Oh no, we're gonna stick with the Bengals, and now we're gonna go with the Ravens. My bad. But start off with the Ravens. They're basically playing for the division here. They're playing the Steelers. Um, because I'm looking at the schedules here, and seeing who's playing who, and the Ravens are pretty much playing for that AFC North here because they got the Texans in Houston, and then they finished the game or the season off with a cupcake game against the Browns. So potentially Ravens are going to end the season here 2-0, maybe 1-1. No chance they're 0-2. And if they were 0-2, that's Steelers would slip into that spot. So I think this is a big game here for the Ravens. They win this game, they pretty much win the division. And if you look at the Steelers' last two games, they're at home against the Chiefs, and that's going to be extremely tough because it's the Chiefs and the refs. So you got to play those two. And then they finish out the season with the Bengals. Remember what I said a couple weeks ago about the Bengals trying to make the playoffs? They need to win out, and that last game of the season would be against the Steelers. So I think that game's going to really matter. But Steelers will probably have their guys benched that game because they're already in the playoffs. They already clinched their spot. It's just who's going to win a division here. So, and then playing the Bengals, so that takes me to my -2 for the Bengals. They're playing the shitty Browns. Browns just benched Winston, and now they're looking at DTR. It was his name Dorian Thompson Robinson, I think. He's starting, and I don't see the Browns coming anywhere close. He's ice cold. He hasn't played at all this year except for a couple snaps last game. Last year he played a couple games, didn't really look that great. It's not the best QB. He doesn't really make the smartest decisions. He creates a lot of turnovers. He is a little dual threat, but I see I see the Bengals stopping him, even though they don't have the greatest defense, but it's crunch time here. Last couple games of the season, they still have a chance to make playoffs, and I think the NFL is going to want them in. They got a very high productive offense, so that's what people are going to want to watch during playoffs. They're going to watch Joe Burrow. They're going to want to watch Jamar Chase. They're not going to want to watch fucking Bo Nix. They're not going to want to watch fucking the Chargers. Fucking their boring offense. They're a good defense, boring offense, just how it is. They want the Bengals in there, trust me. So lock that in. Ravens money line, Bengals -2. It's a -135. That's a lock.
3-star, first 3-star, and then I'll roll you right to the second 3-star. We got the Washington Commanders +4.5 at a -130 versus the Eagles. So about 1 point. That's on DraftKings. Eagles pissed on the Steelers last week, which we predicted. And the Saints kept it very close with the Commanders last week, which we also predicted, thanks to Andrew and Zach. Now, this week, we're predicting the Commanders to keep it close with the Eagles. I mean, you got the 12-2 Eagles versus the 9-5 Commanders. Commanders are home. Divisional matchup here. The Eagles won the first matchup 26-18, but I actually don't believe they win this matchup. But we're going to play it safe with the +4.5 here. Commanders money line +150 if you want to get a little risky. You want to play it safe, +4.5, -130, great value over here, all right? Eagles are a good team. There's really no denying it. They're 12-2. I mean, if I said that they were bad, that'd be a pretty idiotic take. I mean, they're a great team. They're one of the best in the league. It's just a fact. Commanders are also a very good team, though, and there's not much denying that either, especially with Jaden Daniels at QB. I mean, he's a great rookie QB. Stroud was great last year. I mean, he's just a good rookie QB. Both have a top 4 passing defense, which is also impressive. And then you have Terry McLaurin for the Commanders, who is just booming this year, and he's second in reception touchdowns with 11, only behind Jamar Chase, who is going nuclear. As Andrew just said, the Bengals offense just can't be stopped right now. Their defense is bad, but their offense is just produced. Terry McLaurin is also top 7 in yards this year. So if you compare McLaurin to A.J. Brown, McLaurin actually has better stats all around this year and has over doubled the touchdowns, which is interesting because naturally you'd think A.J. Brown is going to be doing better than McLaurin. Not this year. Jaden Daniels also has a combined 9 touchdowns in the last 3 games, which is very impressive. And I just think you should expect a great matchup between the divisional rivals here. And I believe that this will be the last loss that's handed to the Eagles. And I think that they're going to finish the season at 14-3 because they have a pretty easy schedule after this. But like I said, we're going to play it safe with the Commanders +4.5 at great value, -130, 3-star, lock it in. Zach, I'll hand it over to you for a 2-star.
For a two-star, this is going to be an interesting one. We have Jacksonville's money line at plus 100 this week. This is by far, this is the toilet bowl. This might be the worst game of the week. This is horrible. I gave you guys a good one to watch last week, and the Commanders and Saints go back and forth. This one, I think I'd rather do my taxes than watch this game. I'm going to be completely honest. But Jacksonville's had an interesting year. They've played one of the toughest schedules in the NFL, which we had mentioned earlier in there, which is why we took their under in wins. But they lost Trevor Lawrence not too long ago, and they've come up short in a lot of games. They lead the NFL in one possession losses. 8 of their 11 losses have come in a one possession game, and these are all against some very good teams as well. But Mac Jones has taken over, and he's been throwing a lot since they've had him take over. Not too concerned with his turnover rate, being that half his picks were against the Vikings and the Lions. Other than that, he's put up pretty good numbers. He's basically been the white Jameis Winston this year. So he's not afraid to throw the ball. He's not afraid to give you a couple picks, but he's going to give you a chance to win. And just like in that same situation, he's got the weapons around him. He's got Tank Bigsby. He's got Travis Etienne. He's got Brian Thomas Jr. He's got everything he needs. And with that being said, I think the Raiders are still on their way to the number one pick. They've just been on a spiral since week 4. They're on a 10-game losing streak at this point. They just can't seem to catch a break. They lose quarterback after quarterback. They're on their third string quarterback. Gardner Minshew, he's gone. O-line's getting him killed. Aiden O'Connell, O-line, got him killed. Desmond Ridder, he's gotten killed a couple times. I'm telling you, this is not going to be good. Like you're going to look over to the sideline. They're going to be hobbling over crutches. They don't have any QBs left. The O-line's killing them. But they just don't have much outside of Brock Bowers for them to really go to. They're losing their running backs too. Their running back from last week, Sincere McCormick, now hit the IR, but they did get Alexander Madison back, so they've got some good news. But it's very tough to bet against the team and make the Raiders a favorite in this game when they've played a Jacksonville team who's been pretty solid this year. They've come up just short when the Raiders are just still just on a downward spiral. And also, too, that Raiders defense, as we talked about, is one of the worst in the NFL, and no Max Crosby. So it just keeps getting worse. They just keep losing everyone. The Raiders being a favorite here is just tough. It's just very tough to back it. And it's just, you got good value. So we got Jacksonville's money line plus 100, 2-star. And there we go.
I love it. You heard it right there, kids. It's a lock. Then I'll lock in with the last 2-star for Sunday. Going with Detroit, we got Jahmyr Gibbs, 90-plus rushing yards at a minus 120 versus the Bears. Going to keep this very simple with just facts. He has only done this 3 of 14 games played this year. But Jahmyr is obviously an elite running back, and there's no David Montgomery. It's simply just going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. Montgomery's out for the rest of the season. If you bet his over for the rushing yards on the year, 775.5, ended with 775. That sucks. Sorry for you. I'm sure you saw that on all the betting, whatever, social medias. They're posting that everywhere. Anyways, the Bears give up 133.3 rushing yards per game, which ranks bottom 7 in the entire league. So the rush defense is terrible. Gibbs averages 75 yards per game, but that is with David Montgomery playing every single game as well. And mind you, Montgomery averages 55 rushing yards per game, which is now a lot of vacant yards. And who's going to get the touches? Obviously Gibbs. So meanwhile, he needs 15 more yards than he normally averages with Montgomery in the game. Montgomery's not in the game, so you're going to tell me Gibbs can't get an extra 15 yards than he normally does against a terrible defense? Come on. That should be easy. That should cash for us. Simply just Jahmyr Gibbs, 90-plus rushing yards, minus 120 versus the Bears, 2-star, lock it in. That wraps up NFL Sunday. You boys got anything else?
I'm all set.
Awesome. So we are still running Locksmith, like I said, December 15th or December 25th. So you still got 6 days left on that. DM us on Instagram or any social media at LocksOTD so you can get locked in with that. Our favorite pick of the day. Don't miss out. Anyways, you heard all our picks today. You heard all our picks for Sunday, our college football locks, everything. Lock them in. Don't miss out. Thank you for tuning in once again to podcast number 19, and we will see you next Thursday. Peace.